Hi, it's me Jasmine. This video demonstrates for my routing and switching assignment. In this project, I designed and configured a full multi-site network for two locations, Sydney and Melbourne. I use Cisco Packet Tracer to set up VLANs, trunking the Ether channel, inter-VLAN routing, RIP routing, ACLS, and DHCP. In this video, I will show you each part of my work following the same order as my project. So let's start with the introduction part. Yeah, just now I gave the introduction. Yeah, let's start with the IP address and design. In this IP address, I use my network. Sydney has a static server network and the DHCP employee network. Melbourne has VLANs for IT and then VLAN 20 for HR. Each subnet has a network address max, getaway, host. I mean like Melbourne has VLAN 10 and then IT and VLAN 20 for HR. Each subnet has its network address marks, gateway, host range, and then broadcast address. Yeah, you can see the table. Yeah. So for the network topology, so this is my full network topology, as you can clearly see in here. Sydney and Melbourne are connected through an ISP router. Sydney has two LANs, one for servers, one for employee using DHCP. Melbourne has two VLANs, VLANs 10 for IT, VLANs 20 for HR. All devices are connected and then routed through this topology. So device configuration, as you can clearly see in here, this all devices configuration used in my network. I configured each routers and switches manually in CLI. So the router and Sydney configuration. So these are the things. In the Sydney router, I config three interface, one for the link, WAN link, one for the static server network, one for the DHCP network. I also configure DHCP pool for employee network and I enable RIP version 2 for routing. Yeah, so for router, Melbourne router on the stick. In this Melbourne router, I configured the router on the stick. I created two interface G0 2.10 for VLAN 10, G0 2.0 for VLAN 20. Each has the correct encapsulations and the gateway. I also enable RIP version 2 in here. Yeah, RIP version 2. So let's go through the routers and ISP configurations. Yeah, as you can clearly see in here, ISP router connects Sydney and Melbourne. It has two interface, one to each side, and then RIP is also running here to pass routers between the location. So the Melbourne switches configuration, switch 2, switch 3 configurations. These are my switch configuration. I created VLAN 10 and VLANs 20, assigned ports to the right VLANs, and config the trunk ports between the routers and the switches. Yeah, so after this, I have got the Ether channel. I configured the Ether channel between the two Melbourne's switches ports FA03 and FA04 are bundled using LACP in the active mode. This increases the bandwidth and then adds redundancy. So it's at the summary. So ACL configuration, I created ACL 100 on this Sydney router. ACL allows only IT VLAN from the Melbourne to access the Sydney server network. The HR VLAN is denied. This improves the security. So there we go. This section shows the texting and the result for the network. So 5.1 RIP module. So you can clearly see in here I saw the routing tables. The router I learned each of the networks using RIP v2 like 2. This confirms the routing is working. And then there we go. Just so the diagrams or do a pin, this testing shows the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 can communicate through the routers on stick configuration. The pin between IT and HRPCS is successful. Let's move towards the ether channel test. This is a channel test. The switches shows the port channel is active and the both interface are bundled. This confirms the ether channel is working. Yeah, you can clearly see in this my screen it's switches 3. And let's go towards the ACL test. So it's the ACL test diagram for you. This test and ITPC can ping the Sydney server, access is allowed it, but the HRPC can't be pinged, the Sydney server access is blocked. This shows the ACL works correctly. Right, so let's move on to the HSCP testing. This test shows the Sydney PC receiving an IP address automatically from the DHCP pool configuration on the Sydney routers. Troubleshooting summary. This section I explained the issue I faced, like the ether channel port mismatch, VLANs misconfiguration, routing not appearing, and how I fixed them. Yeah, all problems were resolved and the networks work correctly. So to conclude, I successfully design and configure a secure multi-site network. I implement VLANs, inter-VLANs routing, Ether channel, RIP, ACLS, and DHCP. All tested were successfully and the network meets the requirement. Thank you so much for watching.